talked about our challenges. We also gonna talk about what solutions look like, okay?
It's not about titles, it's not about status. It's about being men. Thank God for each and every one of you.
Just working in Philadelphia, working with the kids, like I noticed that they have a real disconnect in like their future and what they really want to do. And I think it's because they don't see black men be successful.
I want to hear from everybody in the room what we can do to change our mindset.
You need to talk to each other. Yes. Because if we learn to trust each other, then we can learn to solve our issues and our problems.
And so this It's Okay to Talk campaign that we're doing this year in 2023 is something that we're able to create a safe environment. Can understand that we're not walking this walk alone. Look around.
You must look in this brother's face and look in his eyes. You might have to turn away, but I want you to do your best to look in that brother's eyes and look into his soul and to his spirit.
Wow. Real Men, Real Talk Philly was powerful, wasn't it, JG?
Yeah, it was extremely powerful.
To see how many men came together in that room and just really open up. I think that had to be, for me, one of the most emotional experiences that I think that the impact of Real Men, Real Talk had on the room, where you had, I saw at least 20 guys with tears in their eyes, but they gave themselves permission to even share that type of emotion in front of other men. Why do you think that was that, I guess, reaction in that city, in that room at that time?
I think what this is, and even this conversation today, it's really about black men having an opportunity to have an ability to communicate an emotion that they have not been able to do. And I think our Real Men, Real Talk, this whole platform is really allowing men across this country to have an opportunity to know it's okay to talk. That we don't have to look to other devices to get relief, that we can get relief through our opening up and being vulnerable and having great conversation.
So giving men that permission, I'll tell you what I have seen is that we keep hearing this term called talk therapy continues to come up, right? And I like how you framed it. They don't have to look for a device. You can look to another brother. You can look to a Real Men, Real Talk, and that can serve as your source of relief, your source of therapy. Because, quite honest, it's difficult for a lot of us brothers to sign up and actually go to an actual therapist. I'm hearing more about it, but what I am hearing is that the talk therapy in our Real Men, Real Talks is something that has really helped a lot of men take on, or I guess receive that permission to say it's okay to talk. What about you? When you hear men talk about talk therapy, what really like strikes to you? What comes to mind?
I think I take it personal. I think I take it as, and you're much younger than I am, but I think over the years, I have had very few people that I could communicate to. And I think in terms of all the times that I've been through stuff as a father, as a man, as an employee, as an entrepreneur, and never having anybody to talk to. I think even on yesterday, somebody asked me a critical question, and I had to catch myself because I felt like I was going to bust into tears. But what I noticed is that I tried to stay strong in front of the people that were asking me the question. And so I didn't answer the question. And they came back and said, we asked you a question. Are you going to answer it? And I was like, now's not a good time for me to answer that question. And they were like, why? And I was like, I'm not in a good space to answer that question.
Wow.
And so I think that, what we are attempting to do is create this platform so brothers can sign in on the website and be part of a group conversation, or as we go around the country and we do have platforms or meetings, gatherings where we're inviting men to come in and share and talk, that we will be able to document this on a regular basis, and men will be able to tune in and go like, you know what? I heard that brother talk about something, and that's me. And how do I get additional assistance, or how do I get to be part of additional conversations, or what's my next step? I think that's, for me, is what it's all about, is really letting other people know that they're not the only ones out there struggling, and other people are. So it is okay to be vulnerable, to open up, and find a brother to talk to, so that you can have somebody to open up to, and you don't have to just go get a drink to feel good. But, if you talk it out, trust me, you will feel so much better.
That's something that, you and I, we've had plenty of conversations about the importance of finding another brother. And what we have seen in our Real Men Real Talks, how we pair our brothers up to connect and have an actual experience where another brother is looking you in the eye. Some of our Real Men Real Talks, you'll have another brother look at you and tell you that I love you, something that we hear all over the country. Brothers don't tell other brothers, I love you. And what we've heard is that it feels uncomfortable. But what we've been able to do is make it something that actually feels comfortable. It feels okay. So when we give brothers the permission and tell them it's okay to talk, we're also giving them permission to be vulnerable, to let another man tell you, hey, man, I love you. I'm gonna walk this walk with you. You and I have had some pretty in-depth conversations, some Real Men Real Talks amongst ourselves, where we have, I would say, found another brother that we can talk to about these things. How has that helped you in your journey? I would say, let's just say this year. How has that helped you in a space where you have somebody to bounce something off of, and vice versa? I know it's helped me tremendously, because we all have associates or relatives and friends, but we sometimes don't really have somebody you really can go deep with that can connect on certain levels, or they're even close to some of the things that you're dealing with, but you've been able to make a connection and you feel as though this is the person that I can share with. So from your perspective, how has that been?
Now you're asking me to be vulnerable.
But that's Real Men Real Talk, though, right?
And tell my business.
We ain't got to tell our business.
And be open. I think that, let me say two things. One, as we see those men on the screen that you saw at the beginning, that they were touching each other's hands,
right, and
sharing that emotion, that to me has been a tremendous challenge for me to go back and for me to be more open. Because I see myself as being very strong. I always see me being the guy that has the answer. And because I started off at a very young age, at 8 years old, being independent, I always think I'm okay. I think one of the guys in our office, Malcolm, he always tries to catch me every day by asking me, how am I doing? And for the last 3 years, I've given him the same answer, I'm great. And I remember one day he came in and said, how you doing? And I said, oh, all right. He said, not great. And so he got really excited about me not being great. And I was like, no, I'm great. But, right now, I'm all right. I'm not, nothing wrong. And so then I think having you become a part of my space, and what you have done is that you have pushed past different layers to make me have to be more open and see myself for who I really am, and see some of the weaknesses that I have. And I think sometimes what people don't see is what you see in others is also in you. And so as I pointed out things in you, really the reason why I could see it is because it's inside of me. And it's things that I have not probably changed or corrected, or I look at it and go like, I've been telling him that he should stop doing that, and I've been doing that for 20 years myself. And this is the reason why I ain't even moved forward. So it's really made me wake up and sit on the side of the bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, which some of you all get texts from me, and it's made me look at reflect and say, even at my age, there are things that I'm still struggling with, and there's still excuses I'm making about why I am mentally not okay. But of the last probably 24 months, I could say I've gotten more mentally better, and I've gotten, and I'm not crying, I'm just joking. I've gotten...
it's okay to cry too, right?
And it is. And I've become more aware of my conscious thinking about myself.
Stay right there. I think that word that you just shared is so powerful. It's the word aware. I know that for myself, and I've shared this with you, I've had I've functioned in a space mentally of perfection where I everything had to be at this high level. It always had to be in excellence, and it caused me to just view everything through a lens of just everything that is not right. When something could be good, well, I'm thinking, well, it should be great. But you've been able to make me aware of the things that really do matter.
You really are.
How imperfect I really am. And I appreciate that because I have, for way too long, many people in my life have told me how great of a person that I am or how great of a job I'm doing in the different roles of my life. But to be the best, you have to be willing to listen and be aware and be made, I guess, challenged to look at your weaknesses too. Look at some of the areas, the shadow behaviors. There's some things that if I'm not where I ultimately want to be right now, it's no one else's fault, it's mine. So what am I doing? And what am I not doing to put me in that position?
I don't think you're keeping it kind of real right now.
All right, well, go ahead, let me get real there.
Yeah, why don't you get real and be really honest how you got the revelation that you were not perfect?
Oh, wow. We're going to go there. So
that's real man, real talk, right?
It's real man, real talk. And, it's funny how our flights around this country have evolved into our own personal real man, real talk sessions where you and I have like literally, I don't know what it is about the takeoff. The takeoff gives us permission. Maybe it's because we're out there, we're so high up in the sky, we may be like closer to God or something. I don't know what it is, but we get up to a certain altitude, the conversation gets real. And I remember like it was yesterday. I'll never forget it. I had a rough morning. I had a morning where we were conversing about a work matter. And I didn't like the responses I was receiving from one of the executives. And I was taking it personal. And it was an opportunity for me to correct my approach to a particular situation. And it caused me to get so upset and so worked up that I'm thinking to myself, like, here we go again. My blemishes, my shortcomings, my imperfections are just all on display. And so now I'm more so embarrassed, like I'm exposed. And I don't know if anybody that can relate to being a perfectionist, you don't want your shortcomings put on a billboard. You don't want that to be displayed in front of many people.
Let's really kind of talk about, you even looked the word perfection up in the dictionary.
I had to. So the night before this conversation, on this plane ride and this incident, I looked up the word perfectionist and it was me all day long. It was literally what I was dealing with, because I'm all about trying to find out what's going on. How can I get better? And when I saw that word, I busted into tears. I'm like, dang, like this is me.
No, I don't think you just busted into tears.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. That was before we got on the flight. On the flight, I did have a emotional, I would say, meltdown because I felt that I was at a place where, you know what, I got to let this out. And so I remember sitting next to you, and as I'm talking about how I feel like I'm a failure, I feel like I'm losing, I feel like every time I turn around, there's another Kenny isn't doing this right moment, and all I could do is just cry. And so it was funny because you kind of noticed I got a little quiet, but then you also could hear the sniffing.
I was like,
and you like, wait a minute, like, is he okay? Here? Like, what's up with you, dude? And I started explaining to you what was going on, what was happening while I was crying. And you was like, well, why didn't you never told me this? Like, you never said that you was dealing with this. You never asked for help. But how can a person who feels like everything needs to be perfect, you're not going to want to ask for help?
And say right there, I think too, is that the way you present yourself too, is you're always dressed to the nine. You always make sure you speak very well. You're always doing the right things. So in my mind, you're perfect too. I'm like, okay, so perfect over here, sitting to be perfect. Except I know the difference because I'm working with you.
Yeah.
And I know you ain't all that perfect. I mean,
Absolutely.
You are kind of perfect. Maybe a 5 out of 10. No, I'm just joking. But I think that's what we do as brothers too.
We do.
Is that we don't tap into each other because we don't allow ourselves to be that intimate with each other that we can feel
what another person's going through. And I think as we do these Real Men, Real Talk podcasts, we want to do this so that other men will know, hey, it's okay to open up.
Yeah.
As we talk to Master P, or we talk to Penny Hardaway, or we talk to other people who we're going to be interviewing and bringing to the podcast, you will see that these are men who are, some of them are going to be people who are famous and who had issues. Some of them won't be. Some of them will be an everyday brother who talked about, we met a brother in the airport the other day, and the brother was just overwhelmed with the fact that he used to be a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And now he's not a drug dealer. And now he works at the airport, pushing people in wheelchairs. And when we asked him, I was talking to you, I said, hey, what should we talk about? He said, talk about black men's mental health.
Black men's mental health.
He said, talk about black men's mental health. So in your state of perfection, I didn't see it because that's how you walked around like you was perfect. But
I did.
You opened up that day and you allowed yourself to be open enough to shed tears on the airplane.
Yeah, and I would say that day literally was a pivotal moment for me because it allowed me to just be real. It also gave me some freedom. It was liberating. It gave me permission to look at my flaws, accept my flaws, and be okay with that. And I just, I think that it also exudes the power into what you were saying. Fellas, finding somebody that you can have that kind of conversation with that's going to keep it real with you, not going to tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear and challenge you to be okay with who you are and understand that it takes time. And so for me, I read something in the last couple of days where it was talking about the whole idea of it's a whole package. It's not just about showing up and looking polished or showing up and looking perfect. Make sure that your work exudes and your work is replicating that. And because you and I've had conversations about that all day long, I may look like I got it all together, but if my follow-up is weak or if my sense of urgency lacks, then I am not executing at the level that I should be just based on wearing nice clothes or speaking well. But a lot of men are masking themselves with those things because it's something that is visible.
Or masking. Let's talk about that masking.
That's a whole... Woo.
Our next campaign in 2024 is going to be Take the Mask Off. And so many guys, it's funny to me, is that when I listen to guys and they say they're CEOs, and you say, okay, you're CEO, and I go like, well, how much did your company make last year? They go like, well, I'm really just getting started. It's that whole idea is I got to be a CEO, I got to be this, I got to be that. And you think labels make who you are. And people used to ask me all the time, how come I don't brag about what I do? And to me, it was like, I ain't really doing nothing that great. I mean, I was looking at my bank account, and I was like, bank account don't say great. Bank account says, hey, you struggled paycheck to paycheck. And so I think that the idea is that we got to measure up so other people can value who we are as opposed to valuing ourselves. I think that's another thing that gets us caught up too, because we are oftentimes comparing ourselves to other people and where they are. Yeah. And we want to wear the nice clothes. We want to drive the nice car. We want to have the title. And to me, if you ain't okay inside, all of that stuff does not matter. Let me tell you, that's nice real. Car and a miserable mind doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'd rather have peace of mind and instead of having nice things, because peace of mind goes a long way. Now, the Bible says money solves all things, so you do need some money, but you need peace of mind also. So talk to me about, we're doing this. You got a little bit of conversation from us today. What should people be expecting going forward?
Well, I mean, what they just got today with you and I self-disclosing and sharing how other men around this country are self-disclosing on a monthly basis is exactly what you can expect, because what we have done, we have literally made it okay for men to talk and be vulnerable and share what's happening inside of their lives, knowing that it's going to free them from the chains of whatever is holding them back. But then additionally, it's going to empower somebody else to do the same. I think back about the brother in Philadelphia who shared some things that he was going through and never once shared it with anyone in his life.
That was so phenomenal.
Wasn't that powerful?
Stand up and say, I don't know what it is about the energy in this room, but let me tell you what I just went through. And when he told us what he went through, that his sister had been murdered, and as a result of his sister being his mother, committed suicide 6 months later, I was like, and he had been carrying this on for 2 years.
Never shared
this with anybody, and he shared this in the room.
Yep.
That was so extremely powerful. And we want men to know is that as we are doing these podcasts, we're going to be asking you, what do you want us to talk about? Now, we're not really trying to talk about relationships and the fact that your baby's mama don't let you see the kid because you owe child support. But we're really trying to talk about, you want to be a good dad? How do you be a good dad? Or maybe you haven't been a good dad. How do you fix that?
Right.
You know, I was a single dad. I thought I was going to be married forever. And first 6 weeks after I got married, I was like, wrong mistake. But what are you going through? What do you want to talk about? I mean, we're going to have lots of different people talking about lots of different stuff. I think one of the things that Penny Hardaway said when we had a conversation with him, he said, love is the strongest power that you can have. How do we get brothers to embrace loving each other so that we can give each other strength? One of the brothers mentioned in one of the meetings, he said, you know what? This feels like the Million Man March. So what if we can get 100,000 brothers to sign up to watch the podcast, to sign up on our blogs, or sign up on our Facebook page and join the conversations that we're having? What happens if we can just fix each other? We keep waiting for somebody else to fix us. We got to fix ourselves.
We got to fix ourselves. And it starts with us. And that's why it's so important for you and I to continue to just create the environment, create the space. Because what we're seeing is brothers are responding, and they're responding daily. To walk through the airport and have that conversation with that young man in that season that he's in right now. I mean,
and then he posted it on social media.
Yeah.
He didn't even know. We didn't even give him. He went and found our faces on social media and put a picture on social media about the conversation we were having with them.
Yeah, and that's what's happening all over this country, month in and month out. But we do have special guests that will join us throughout this journey with our Real Men Real Talk conversations, because we understand that even the most popular individuals across this country, they got some things they're dealing with too, and they have some issues and they have some struggles, and they're looking for a safe space to talk. They're looking for an environment that is open, that is giving them permission to be themselves, to have that Real Men Real Talk. We're serious about this whole idea of bringing the clinic to the community. That's just something that we are all about with the African American Male Wellness Agency, and we're more than a walk. A lot of people know us for our wellness events that we're having nationally. But Real Men Real Talk is something that is that hidden jewel that so many men are going to be impacted by. They're already impacted by it, and I'm excited about it. How about you?
I'm excited because I'm all about. I never wanted to be a pastor. I wanted to do God's work, and we do this work because I believe this is what God wants me to do. And so this is a way that I think that we can reach out, particularly to Black men. We unapologetically are reaching out to Black men. And so I'm excited about the opportunity. I want everybody to know that Kenny and I are developing a vibe. So, this may seem somewhat amateur at first. We will get better at this. We have a producer, Malcolm. He will get better at this. We're at this nice studio called, what's the name of the studio?
State House Studios.
We're at State House Studios, so we will be here. We will be bringing people in State House Studio. We will be traveling.
We will travel, absolutely,
across the country to do podcasts. We did that in Memphis, Tennessee. We're setting up one to. I just had a conversation with somebody else to do somebody pretty big up. So there'll be stars, there'll be nobodies, there'll be subjects. I mean, when we were in LA, gay Black men stood up and said, how come Black straight men are afraid of gay Black men? And we were like, we never talked about this before. So we will talk about all kinds of things, but it's really for the purpose of healing Black men and for us to find another person. Bishop Jakes has a book out called Everybody Needs a Jonathan. The story of Jonathan David is a very powerful story of how two people, Jonathan was 30 and Jonathan was 60 and David was 30. But they was able to find a common ground to communicate, but the power of connecting so they would have support each other. And I think all we're trying to do is make sure brothers get healed and feel better. And
That's it right there.
I think, Kenny, you want to sum this up? And because, Malcolm will be talking about this in a minute. Like, I talked too long. Why didn't you say this? So maybe we can take a break.
Nah.
And
no, this has been a great conversation, and this is, I would say, it's a small fraction of what happens in our Real Men, Real Talk sessions. We do have some summits that are coming up where we've partnered with Pac-Man Jones to really give him an opportunity to share. We've had Music Soul Child participate in those types of events as well. But we didn't ask him to perform. We asked him to just be himself, and he was appreciative. He was able to share some things he's dealing with, he struggled with, and help other men in the room. And so you and I have made a commitment to be unapologetic about holistically supporting African American men and their families. This is just one of the ways that we're doing it, and it's starting with us letting the men know that it's not just them talking; it's us. We're gonna do this together. You and I, we're both gonna self-disclose, but we're gonna challenge men. We're gonna challenge men to be real. Because too many of us are
too much more self-disclosure. Which is,
hey, the self-disclosure is good for the soul, man. It's good for the soul. So what we'll do is we'll continue to have these conversations. There's going to be so many more that we'll have. It won't just be you and I. It's going to be more other individuals that's going to come on board and join us in this space. But we're going to have a lot of fun doing it, and it's something that we're looking to change a lot of lives around the country. So if anyone wants to learn more about what we're doing and stay tapped in with our organization, they can always go to the website, aawellness.org, or on all social media platforms, African American Male Wellness Agency. On Instagram, it's AA Wellness Agency. Facebook, African American Male Wellness Agency. And we encourage everyone to sign up. Be a part of the movement. There's opportunities all across the country. We had a brother that met us in New Orleans who was at the Houston walk earlier this year in April. And then he also was at the Real Men Real Talk. And speaking of Real Men Real Talk in Houston, we'll be there November 9th with Pac-Man Jones again. We had him here in Columbus in July for our mental wellness summit. And it was a game changer. And we're going to do the exact same thing in Houston, Texas on Thursday, November 9th. See our website for more information. We're looking forward to really changing lives locally and nationally in this space of mental wellness.
Hey, I say, if you want to be healed, you want to be whole, join the conversation, join the movement. Black men, you know what? We are here so that you can have a better life, and we want you to join us. If we can get hundreds of thousands of black men to join in and keep each other positively affirming each other that we were created to be great. All I say is Real Men, Real Talk. Kenny, it's great talking real with you.
Likewise, Real Men, Real Talk. It's okay to talk.